everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So we had some, I'm going to call it some weird things happen last week in terms of inventory and just some things that are not very common for February. So trends that we're definitely going to be watching. So when we look at the numbers last week, Georgetown only had 6 sales, which I think is a bit low. It's definitely not on trend with like our normal weeks. It's low. 6 is not a lot of sales, especially when we have inventory available. So only 6 sales last week, but the number that's sort of more impactful is the fact that we had 23 new listings in Georgetown. That is absolutely unheard of for February. I was logging in last week, watching the new listings, I was like, wow, this is a lot of new stuff hitting the market. If we keep up with this kind of inventory hitting the market, oh my gosh, like we might be right back where we were last year, which I really hope isn't the case, but we need to start to see sales pick up because usually by this time in February, we are starting to get into a heated market where we're seeing bidding wars and things like that. It is happening, but it's not really happening. And the more notable thing is we just never have this many listings hitting the market in February. So we usually have low inventory going into March, and it's usually a very strong time of year. 23 listings really threw me for a loop, so we're going to be watching that. Acton this week had no sales and 2 new listings. Glen Williams had 1 sale and 1 new listing, and the rural market had 2 sales and 2 new listings. But of note, of the 9 sales this week, even though that is extremely low, but of the 9 sales, 3 of them were under $1 million, and the rest were over that. Actually, 2 of them were over $2 million. We've been watching the last few weeks, and even really just since the start of January, we've seen a lot of sales over that $1 million mark, and I'm just really surprised how our lower price points are not moving yet. And we need those lower price points to really be fueling the market, and it's just not happening right now. So I'm not sure what's going on, but not great news for sellers. And then when we're looking at properties that changed their price, relisted, terminated, all that stuff, 15 properties last week kind of made a movement. 10 of those were reducing their price. So that's showing that we're not getting the kind of traction in the market that we had hoped. 10 people adjusting their price downward is a lot of people. So we saw a few weeks where that was sort of at bay and not much was happening, but 10 last week, that's a lot. And 4 people terminated and removed themselves from the market, and 1 relisted at the same price. So we're seeing some weird trends, the biggest one being the amount of inventory coming on. That really could shift our market. So when we're looking at our active inventory, we're up from 127 to 141 active listings in Georgetown. It's still not a massive number compared to where we came from last year, but it is a really big jump week to week, and it just starts to creep up, and before you know it, we could be at that 200 again. Oh my gosh, I really hope that's not the case. I thought we would have a really strong first quarter here, but we are just not seeing the hot sales that we're used to seeing, and I'm not really sure why, because I feel like there are people ready to buy, and it's just the numbers are not great. So looking at Georgetown's numbers, we're up from 74 to 86 active listings. That's no longer a low number in Georgetown. We were sitting in the low 70s for a very long time. We're up to 86, and that is just, it's not as saturated as we've seen, but there's a lot of stuff available in Georgetown right now. So looking at our price points, under 800,000 is up from 9 to 11 active listings. If you need a condo townhouse, there is a lot of those available. So we normally, again, see those moving off the market, and they're just not moving as rapidly. So without that fuel right at the bottom of our market, it's hard for everything else to be kind of hot. 800 to $1 million is up from 17 to 21 active listings. There are so many good houses available in this price point. I cannot believe that more stuff is not flying off the shelf. There are some really nice houses under $1 million right now. But it's just, the market is not indicating that we are seeing an uptick in sales here. 1 to 1.5 million is up from 24 to 29 active listings. This is our price point that we know gets super saturated when our inventory starts to climb. Majority of the properties we're seeing coming on the market feel like they are in this price point. We are still seeing the majority of sales in this pocket, but we're also seeing the majority of listings in this pocket. So it really just gets saturated, and I just am very concerned about how much inventory we saw hit the market for a week in February. It really threw me off there. And then 1.5 million plus is up slightly from 24 to 25 active listings. There's a lot of stuff available just across the board in Georgetown, and we're just not used to seeing that in February. So let's see how this goes. Acton this week is up slightly from 7 to 9 active listings, but still like a relatively good number for Acton. Glen Williams remained the same at 4, and the rural market is up slightly from 41 to 42. Lots of stuff available in the rural market, but it's all much higher budgets. Like, we're talking so many properties over $2 million in the rural market, so it just takes a lot longer for them to sell. So overall this week, I feel like I don't have a positive update. I saw nothing good happening in the market this week, and again, it has shocked me for February. Low sales and high inventory is not the trend that we are used to seeing in February, and so going into the next few months, if this continues, like, that's a weird thing to me. Like, I just really thought with interest rates going down, we'd really see buyers coming out of the woodworks. Our prices are still up, but if we start to see saturated inventories, we're going to start to see the number of people reducing their pricing going up. We're going to see, the negotiations of pricing downward are going to start again. And so I'm going to follow this really closely. Hopefully next week will look a little less grim, and this is just a fluke in my reporting and, how I report on a Tuesday, but not great. So I will be back next Tuesday. Have a great week, everyone.